Hello, and welcome to Creating in Color, sharing the creative endeavors of people of color. I am your host, Kaybe, and today we are meeting with Malia Dawkins Jennings, a kids and consumer storyteller whose past projects include Ianu Child of Wonder and the Warner Media Writers Access Program, and whose current project, Charlotte and Buckingham Park, is out to market. How are you today, Malia?
Girl, thriving, feeling good. I tell you, with Charlotte and Buckingham Park, my current project so deeply in my veins and in my belly. Whenever I'm on calls with another female, I say, welcome to court. So we are at court. I'm taking over this podcast hotline and saying, hey Queen Kaybe, welcome to court. Happy to be at court with you, and discussing, my journey as a writer.
Lovely. Happy to be at court with you too, Queen Malia. So, how would you describe a storyteller?
Oh, that's such a good question. And it's super provocative. I've actually never been asked this before. For me, if my name was Malia Webster and I created the dictionary, for me, a storyteller is a revolutionary through story. A storyteller's responsibilities are to be a time capsule of the past to construct future possibilities. A time story. We're historians. We're culturalists. We're conscious observers. We're oral traditionalists turned transcribers. We obviously love people. We're people lovers. We're words lovers. We're world lovers. And so, at face value, when you see the word storyteller, you think of it, as writing, storytelling as a craft. I too, when I use the word, when I receive the words, when I use it to proclaim such a huge part of my identity, I also retain the weight of the responsibility. What's written and what is told is so important to capturing legacy. And in this modern world where there's so much information out there, where there's so much misinformation out there, it's really the role of the storyteller, and the storyteller telling the right stories, and that's whether that's fact or fiction, or using fiction to promote certain facts or ideas, is critical. I feel, for both kids, my target audience, but obviously to adults, through the marketing pathway of my career as well.
That's so lovely because we're going to go more into it, but you did show me some examples of your work and it does pull a lot from historical moments and time periods. So it's very interesting to hear you say the importance of not only demonstrating these story moments, but holding true to the legacy, because people just be making up stuff out here,
all the time. They just be writing punchy headlines. And I think there's a lot of storytellers, media storytellers, unfortunately, who are aware that people are not reading the actual story. They're just reading the headlines. It's a kind of a very dangerous time. And I think that's why it's even more critical for the right storytellers, the responsible stories. It's complicated because they also kind of have to play the game of these rage baiting headlines to get the attention, but just to hopefully within those first couple of lines of the story, just to hook the reader in. And that's true, just as true as it is, in cinema. I know my 4-year-old daughter, if she's not compelled within the first 10 seconds, she's going to scroll to the next video. As a writer, you got to sell them in, they're only going to read the first 10 pages. If you don't got them, they're going to move on. Similar things for adults, from marketing perspectives and political perspectives. So it's all cyclical, and all just drives back to that past point of just the role of a storyteller is heavy in today's society to educate and to entertain the masses.
No, absolutely. I know you have a whole outline, but it's just a very interesting point you are bringing up, because storytelling feels almost absent in most media that we're consuming now online. It's just empty calories. It's potato chips. There's nothing to it, but it's nice at the moment, It gets that hit of dopamine, but what do you have at the end of it?
Yeah. And are you nourished?
Are you nourished?
Are you nourished? You talk about that quick fix. It's you give a kid, a handful of Skittles, they're still hungry 15 seconds. The Skittle, those 5 Skittles aren't going to do something, but 5 grapes could be different, 5 carrots, you know, different story. And so, and we end up being a reflection of the stories, that we're told. I'm very much so a reflection of the stories that I was told, that kind of just actually like drove the path of why I ended up becoming a storyteller and writer. And so, I look at my kids. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, and the stories that they are digesting from us as parents on TV, on YouTube, from school, it is forming who they are. So as a parent, I also have to be very mindful of careful of what stories they're receiving. I want to nourish them. I got to nourish them. That's as a parent, that's my paramount job.
So, being a storyteller where you have audiences that's mostly kids, but you also target adults, how would you describe the difference, besides like obviously one's kids and one's adults, but like the difference of approach to writing for these different markets?
You know what's so crazy? The only difference is that one is kids and one's adults. There's really just not much of a difference in today's market. I mean, honestly, kids content is at the intersection of education and entertainment. So is marketing to consumers these days. You gotta, envelope brand information in something fun and entertaining for consumers to really receive and digest the content. Similar thing with kids. You got to envelope education in something entertaining and fun for them to digest the content. And both audience bases are seeking authenticity. They do not want to be sold to. They either like something or they don't. Kids, adults alike, so it's either you're for me or you're not for me. And they can smell a gimmick a mile away, and they can smell if you're not targeting them specifically right away, and they move on. So it's a very interesting time in this dual path life of me as a storyteller, as a content creator for kids, and as a storyteller, as a marketing director who's worked in experiential marketing spaces for over 10 years. And another synergy between the both is that all demand strong visuals, in short, succinct messaging, or they'll just scroll by. They'll just scroll by what you've built.
So you just mentioned that you were in marketing for 10 years.
Yep. I still am. I'm still in the game. And it's interesting because there's been, challenges, and as in there's only 48 hours a day and you got to get it all done. But there's also been rewards in this dual identity as a storyteller, as a marketer, for kids and consumers, because, this is an entertainment business. Mm-hmm. It's an entertainment business. And shoot, in today's climate, and it's always been the case, but it's really the business of entertainment. We should almost just change the name of the industry. And so the skills that I've been able to build as a marketer, my ability to create pitch decks, the fact that, on a weekly basis, I'm pitching to different brands, and how that translates to my ability to pitch to buyers, to production companies, my IP. And I do it so regularly. It's just in my body. It's in my body. And I find that on, my storytelling, like kids side, people are like, whoa, like, dang, you like weren't even nervous. Like, wow, that just kind of rolled out your belt. I'm like, well, I pitched so much of my day job, like to hop on this call with you all, it's natural. It's a very natural experience in feeling. And then, the crafting and the preparation for said pitch, like everything that's in my writing portfolio, or really my writing business portfolio. I have my script, I have my pitch deck, but within my pitch decks, I have a very thoughtful, research rooted intel in terms of, this is what the merchandising plan could be. This is what the audience target is. And here's analytics that I know, or I can back up my argument that audiences want this. And this is why I think, and here's statistics and analytics that will back up why this will sell. And then people will buy into this character, and this character has this prop, and this prop becomes this toy on this shelf. And this is approximately how many units, we think we could sell, because it is a business of entertaining. So that's been the really kind of just wonderful fusion, of these two worlds. And then there's also just the marketing, like both verticals of my career, there is marketing. It's necessary. It's critical to success. Like someone's not going to buy something they don't think there's an audience that can be marketed towards, then ultimately become a consistent, viewer, that you're not just like a one hit wonder. So also for my properties, I already have a strategic marketing plan in mind. Who are the strategic partners, community partners, grassroots partners, because again, authenticity is key. Like because I'm manifesting when my Charlotte and Buckingham Park series blows up, it's just as important to have, post collaborations on social with, major entities with 100,000 plus followers, as long in addition to like moms groups or different moms or different parents, because parents have to be champions of the content their kids digest. So I need them to be allies on the journey. So I've got to target them as well. So if you see, it's a very interesting overlap, which is why I've just started to really kind of just brand myself as a storyteller, for kids and consumers alike.
I think you might be one of my favorite people.
Kaybe. You just double for
Like, just everything. I knew I was excited for this interview.
No, I'm excited too. And I am so appreciative of the platform. And I was super humbled and surprised by the ask, because, obviously I've done some things in my career. I do have some ways to go, but I think, having people have space to share where they are, where they're on the ride, when they're on the literal cobblestone street, on their way to Oz, it's just as important to hearing voices of people who've already made it to Oz. You know what I mean? Like what are the tangible tips to help get you to the next, step on your voyage to the Emerald City? And I think I just also want to take space, and I think you're a wonderful person, and I really appreciate the platform to share my story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So going into it, because like as someone who was like studying, like me personally, I was studying art and animation in school. And one of the things that I realized too through my creative journey was I don't know how to market myself. And you coming from like, and like, I know that you were always a creative type. It was always in your blood. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. You just didn't know it yet, maybe. But like you coming from like this just rich marketing background, and like you were I was shocked. I was just like, I looked over to my partner and I was like, I just got a pitch deck for like a guest. I feel like I've made it.
You have. We've made it. We here. We together.
We here. We're together.
We in court. Hey, Queen. I see you.
Hey, Queen.
And if you're listening, we see you, Queens. I'm going to acknowledge the kings as well. You are all at our royal court. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I love this. I love this so much. So, if someone is like, and like I'm jumping the gun again. I'm sorry. I'm excited. But someone who is like trying to like market themselves or like really pitch themselves as like a storyteller, even pitch projects that they're working on, would you encourage them to take marketing classes or like even pick up a marketing book, just like get familiar with it? Like, what would be the best approach in your opinion?
It's so funny because in today's society, things are moving so quickly. And it's almost like by the time sometimes you've taken the course, the trend has changed. But I do think there's some fundamental tip poles that are valuable, that really set the foundation for a creator to encompass. I think for a creator or writer in today's market, everyone's looking for IP that can be cross-pollinated across a lot of different entertainment verticals. They're looking for, what is the book? They're looking for, okay, now we got the book. Okay, now what's the series look like? Okay, now we got the series. What does this look like on YouTube? Or is this a YouTube first series? Because analytics, the business side of me are showing that viewership, especially with kids, like they're going to YouTube first. Like they do YouTube first. And for me, it's some added value to being a parent. So those who are like, oh my gosh, I'm a parent, things are crazy. Can I pursue this? What's wild is being a creator as a parent is the hardest thing I've ever done. But being a creator as a parent is also the best thing I've ever done. Because my kids they're my little creative consultants, and I watch them move, and I watch how they digest content, and I watch how they're being marketed to and what resonates with them, and then they help form my plan of how I market myself, because they're technically, they're my kids, but they're also my target audience.
Right.
I think, you definitely need an awareness of social media. Social media is crucial. It's clutch. I have friends who are like, oh, I'm taking a social media drought. I'm going to be off for 6 months. Like, oh, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. Clear up some of the noise. But God dang, it's like low key my job. It's like low key my job, to have social awareness of what's happening, what's trending. Like literally, like hot off the presses, all these vertical dramas. I mean, we've been hearing the rumblings about them for months, but now they're blowing up. It's the Rays in the game. I just saw a headline that Tay Diggs is formulating a production company just centered on that. And
Wow.
why people are doing it? Because that's how people are digesting content. We are moving at such a quick pace. Our attention spans are incredibly small, for better or for worse. There's so much content out there, and we're looking for content. There used to be times where, like, hey, while I'm just waiting in the line in the grocery store, remember you used to like to pick up a People magazine or pick up, a National Enquirer and flip through. Everyone's on their phones. They're like, okay, well, let me get a quick episode of in here before I check out, my groceries. So the industry is following consumers where they're living, and where that lends itself to really great opportunities for creative, because really creative driven content is it's what's king right now. I look at my daughter, and it's not her, mommy, let me, get my iPad to watch Frozen, or to watch an episode of Bluey. She likes to watch videos of kids like mocking and mimicking moments of Frozen, like someone like me taking her to the backyard after school and recording her in her Elsa dress, living her best life and doing things. So I think understanding YouTube is a must for any creator today, and whatever format, whatever audience space. And I think understanding as a marketer, but also understanding it from a production perspective, because the production value requirements aren't as high. Like, again, as my daughter is not like, mommy, give me the TV to turn on Pixar. She's like, give me the YouTube so I can watch a video that someone recorded on their cell phone. And she's just as compelled, which is a really revolutionary opportunity for creators, because what we can do, what we thought we couldn't do because we didn't have the budget, we didn't have the buyer, we actually can achieve. We can do on our own. It just takes willpower. So it's knowing how to produce that, but knowing how to market it to your audience. So I say, however pathway it takes you to get there, I think having an education and mastery of social media as a tool is a must for any creators today. I think a mastery and understanding of YouTube is a must as a tool. And I think also just being able to marketing yourself as a civilian, like outside, separate of your stories. I will never forget, in the Warner Media Writers Access Program, one time we had an assignment to develop our personal log lines. I'm like, what is a personal log? I only do log lines as associated to the work.
Yeah.
And for those listening, you don't know, log line is like that short slug summation of what your show or your film is about. It's like when you go on Netflix and like deciding I'm going to watch this show, and it's that short sentence summation. But I didn't have one for who I am. What's that like elevator pitch of who I am? So you also need to know how to market yourself as an individual. And the beauty in that part, if you can do it right, and you can do it in an entertaining, short, succinct, it's almost same tactics and pathways that how you market yourself and how you market your show. You see the commonalities, but if you can do it in a great way, in a succinct, short, clever, authentic way, because that's what the people want, the marketing of yourself, the knowing of yourself, who you are, and how that story is told is what sets you apart from the competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you do it right, it's what helps you stand out and helps you get the job.
Damn.
No, because I wish someone would have told me that years ago. Just, be yourself. just be yourself. I remember moving to spaces. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I come from, small, humble beginnings. And more people know where Charlotte is now, but back when I started, like, huh, who, what, I'm from little Charlotte, North Carolina. My husband would say, take a shot, because I'm so Charlotte proud. I still have my 704 number from Charlotte. I have Bojangles seasoning running through my veins. I mean, really, that's why I wrote Charlotte and Buckingham Park. That's my series that's currently out to market as a love letter to Charlotte. But I when I stopped trying to let me act like I pretend that I'm bigger than what I am, or trying to walk in spaces, you know, describe myself in a way to kind of like diminish what I was really doing, to kind of just to make myself appear to be more accomplished than I wasn't really moving away, because people can read through the BS. But I remember the first day on Ianu Child of Wonder, when the legendary Emmy-winning Cary Grant, she was a part of the series as well, and I was like nervous as hell, but also excited as hell, because I've been tracking her career for forever, and and also had begun. My daughter, who I think was about to turn 2, was also on the Cary content train as well, because she's worked on everything from Doc McStuffins to Ada Twist Scientist to, that I met her on Ianu. But I just humbly, in my like North Carolina self way, just introduced us like, I'm Malia Jennings. I'm, a new writer on the show. This is my first writer's room, watching your content for forever. And I just want to just take a moment and honor who you are. I'm very excited to be writing with you. I'm very excited for the opportunity to learn from you. And I was just me. And the next day she showed up in the writer's room and gave me an Ada Twist Scientist like kit for my kid.
Aww.
Created a really, really strong friendship. It rooted a really strong mentorship that continues today. She's actually a producer on my Charlotte and Buckingham Park project. And if I had not like kind of like, tried to pretend like I was just as strong as her, or been, nervously like silent, not said anything all, like, but just being myself, and putting myself out there is what, in the sincerity, in just proclaiming and giving her flowers, she gave those flowers right back to me in terms of like gifts and advice in the craft and the business of writing. I'm so thankful. So just really just being true to yourself, and how that translates to the marketing yourself, like online, socially, digitally, but also the marketing to yourself in person as you meet people.
Absolutely.
So a lot of it is just, and it sounds so cliche, but really just being yourself. Just being your nerd, just whoever you are, just because it sets you apart. And people, writing it's a lonely journey. You're obviously oftentimes siloed when you're in the craft of it, but writing also requires a lot of collaboration, and that collaboration takes time and hours, and people got to like you.
Yeah.
you got to get along. And so half of the people, I remember when I was interviewing for Yanu, the showrunner had mentioned, he was like, I also, he's like, okay, I got your writing sample, that's strong, that's solid. And then during my first interview, he had asked me, he was like, he had shared, like, well, me and the creator, we're really kind of like dancing ideas in our heads of, what is the season 2 like story arc look like? And I was like, I have thoughts. Do you mind? Like, if I just share my thoughts? And he was like, sure, if you want to take the weekend, put together some thoughts. I was like, I will do that. Stay tuned for my thoughts. But this is where the marketing comes in, and where the marketing as a writer, the marketing as a marketing consumer played very well together. Because my overachieving tail, I put together a pitch deck.
Mm-hmm.
I put together a full pitch deck, sent it to him. And when I got the call that I was hired for the series, he was like, Malia, your script was really strong. I'm going to tell you what got you in that room, that pitch deck. Because through that pitch deck, it showed, the commitment that I had to, I had done all the research, although I read through the comic books. I read through as much as I could, because season 1 wasn't available yet, but they had shared some of the scripts that were close, like that were in production. I digested all the material. And then with my strong history and cultural love background, I had done a deep dive into the lore of Nigerian culture, folklore, and really infused that. And then he had mentioned to me that, one of the errors that he felt like they made in season 1 was there weren't enough female writers in the room, especially for a show spearheaded and centered around a woman. So that was part of the impetus for bringing me on. But I also made sure my pitch infused very detailed ways that I would pitch to amplify, the full dimension development of these characters to, strengthen their resonance and female and male viewers alike in season 2. And that's what got me the job.
That's wonderful. I mean, congrats, honestly. And it's all credit to just you being you and using all your skill and just your selfness and getting in that room. So well done.
I like that. I think you can submit new words to the dictionary every year. Like, I will never forget I only know this because I remember seeing the headline that bootylicious was actually added to the dictionary.
Yes.
Yeah. So your selfness, being your selfness. Let's go ahead and, submit that to Webster's. Let's add that. Your selfness matters. It really, really does.
So your marketing background, is that in entertainment?
It's really experiential marketing. So experiential marketing came to rise about 15 years ago. And when it first began, it was really live event centered. So it was, instead of you going to like a car dealership and find out about, let's say, the new Toyota Camry, it's Kaybe, you and I, we're kicking it, at Afropunk Brooklyn. We're living our best lives, vibing to music, and there happens to be a Toyota, displayed on stage that piques our curiosity. And you and I are like, we kind of hungry. Let's go get some onion rings. So we go get our onion rings. And then next to the onion ring stand, there's a Toyota footprint, but they're not really like selling the car. They're not giving us price tag numbers. They're not shoving vehicle specs down our throat. It's more, take a seat in the vehicle, feel the vibe. Maybe there's a game or activity. It's more of like a lackadaisical approach to brand introduction is my background, and really with my specialty being the multicultural marketing space. So my specialty is in targeting African Americans, Hispanics, and Asian demographics. And what's also very spectacular and unique about our times, but also arguably is not new to our times, is multicultural culture is the culture. Also for storytellers, like when people are like, oh, I don't know, I got this Black story. I'm a Black person with this Black story, but I don't know, do I got to play the Hollywood game? Do I need to make this person white, or do I need to diversify? I'm like, no, our story is the culture. You have to just tell your story. Tell your story, that what we do, how we move, how we dance, how we sing. I mean, look at how K-pop has taken off, and that's all inherently rooted us. So just tell your story. Tell your story. But I kind of just fell into that when I first came to Hollywood. I came here as an actor. I'm going to go back into acting. Yeah. Let me get my baby. Let me get my 2-year-old out of diapers. Okay. And let me tell my series, and I'm going to go back and get my new resume printed out. But you see how all these different skill sets, because it's, my theater performance major. I grew up doing theater with Afro-American Children's Theater Charlotte, Children's Theater Charlotte, and how that informed my ability to grow and rise in the ranks and echelons of the marketing world because of my ability to pitch, project, speak in public, and how that's translated to the advancements I've been able to make to pitch my own original IP. So it's all been tied together. And then what's also really interesting that, prior to the formal training as an actor and studying theater, and also I got the golden key for playwriting in my undergrad, and I went on to actually get my master's in creative writing as well. So, acting and writing, the intersection of just being a creator in totality is just a part of me. It's in my DNA. I'm going to take it back to being you, because my love of storytelling really began as my love of listening to the stories my parents told me of their upbringing in the backseat of cars during the road trips to visit our family. Okay, literally just those drives to visit, family in Inner South Carolina. My daughter is named Inner after Inner South Carolina. Is where my dad is from. My mom's from Asheville, North Carolina. And these places are about 2-hour drives outside of Charlotte. So those 2 hours of times, those listening to those stories on those drives really fueled my love of history, my love of culture, and my signature writing sting, which for me it's taking the historical and making it fantastically tangible for kids. Like, that's my signature. That's me as a writer in a nutshell. And my dad growing up on a farm across the street from a railroad track with an outhouse in the back in little old Inner South Carolina, and little old beautiful Inner South Carolina, taking an education train out of this small community to achieve big things as a chemist, a patented chemist, over 500 patents my father possessed it inspired me. Like I couldn't get enough. And I would like tell, okay, but when did you do this? And then what happened? And what, and this is me as like 6, 7 years old, just because it was just so fascinating. Similar thing with my mom. She grew up in the projects of Asheville, North Carolina, on a mountaintop, this random housing project on a mountaintop. And she climbed from poverty to becoming an HBCU president. And so these are stories of resilience that my parents infused for me very, very early in life. But they're also, you know, it was veiled in this kind of like fantasy, because I can't imagine living life like that. Thanks so much to their generation for fighting the fight that they did grow. You know, they were the civil rights movement. They came up in that era and they paved a way so I didn't have to know that walk. I didn't have to know their walk. But so things like, even recently, I took my kids to NRE for spring break, and I went NRE to like see her town, see her city. Because as a 4-year-old, she's starting to understand that we're pulling into town. She's like, my name is on that sign. Like, what in the world? Like, she's really starting to just understand that. And she was amazed. Like my dad showed her, you know, these 2 poles with the line still at my grandparents' house. And my daughter's like, what is that? My dad's like, that's where we hung our clothes. And she's like, what? Hanging clothes? She's like, well, what's that tiny building? Like, this is a farm. Like, that's an outhouse. You know, she can't even. And so, you know, similar thing. Why kids like to play kings and queens. You know, we don't dress like this today, but, you know, and then compare that to, you know, adults still sustain that fascination with this fantasy, which is really rooted in history with, you know, males wearing armor, women wearing corsets, the Game of Thrones of it all. Like, these things never leave our body. And so when sometimes people are like, oh, that's interesting, you're a kids writer, but you like to infuse history. And so I'm like, but that's literally low-key, that's the Disney model. Like, go say, hey, Belle from Beauty and the Beast is set in 1700s, you know, rural France. You know, you follow the love story, you follow the character, which pride myself on being a character-driven writer. But that history, that time, that fantasy, but it's not fantasy because it's real, but it looks fantastical to us because we don't move or dress in that grandeur way anymore. That's what brought me into this business.
It makes complete sense that you are an actor. It makes complete sense.
I know. I've been doing a lot of talking on the page. I'm a talking lover. I love.
No, you're very passionate.
Yeah, I'm very passionate. So yes, I've been doing a lot of talking with my pen over these past years. But you know, even as a creator, and I've been talking to my manager, like, I got to be better about marketing myself. Like, what's my YouTube presence? What's my public persona? Or not personas in like you're making something up, but like who, like just revealing that more, because it's tied to the marketing of my shows. Like, because it's like, why this story, but also why are you telling this story? Why are you expert at this? Is so much a part of the pitch game buyers and production companies ask. And so you got to know the answers to these questions. And actually, you have to be the right answer to these questions.
What does your daily routine look like?
Oh my gosh, Kaybe, well, with these kids, man, these hours.
I know, it's a whole, you're working like 3 jobs.
Man, like 3 whole full-time jobs, 3 whole full-time jobs. So my daily routine, I get up before the house, because I've found currency in just like, there's value in a morning meditation, a breath, a moment before, just for me to seize the day. So I get up, I take a hot as hell shower. Like, I set off fire alarms sometimes. I love the heat, like low-key scalding myself. But there's something about the heat. I don't know if it just like opens the pores and just lifts it, sets the tone for a day. Make myself a cup of coffee and start like packing the kids like breakfast, lunch, you know, water bottles before they go to school and daycare respectfully. And my husband gets up and we like get the kids heralded out, you know, out the door for the way to school. And then there's like a finite moment, like from 8 to about 9 o'clock before I like really deep dive into my marketing life, where I just have a moment to really like set the tone for the day, set my storytelling tone for the day. And I mark out what are my deliverables, you know, from the marketing perspective. As a marketing director, what do I need to do? But also as a storyteller, what I do. I prioritize the marketing director stuff at the top of the day, because we got a lot of diapers in this house and we got to keep the diapers paid for and the bills paid for, all that. So I knock those out. I'm very fortunate that my company is based in Dallas. And so most of my clients, my colleagues are Central East Coast time. So if I just pound through that morning, pound through that day, and quite often like even for my day job, I have calls like at 8 a.m., 8:30, like right when the kids go out the door to go to school. And so that gives me some time in the afternoon to get my writing done. And if I've been good and, it's a motivating force, like to knock my marketing deliverables out for my day job out the way. And it's so funny. My boss for my marketing job always says, like, you need to get something done, ask a mom. You need something done because we will get it done because there's only a finite window. For me, it's not even end of day till 5 because that's when I got to switch over and go pick up the kids and go into mommy mode. Like so the inspiration for me is like, let me get it done. Or if I can get it by 3, if I can just pound through, be really focused, be really specific and come in with this intentionality just to get it done early. I try to get all my work stuff done by 3. So on a lucky day, like from 3 to 5, I actually have time to like get my writing done and just thrive, in my storytelling for kids' life. And then at 5 o'clock, I go pick up the kids and I'm in 5 to 9, I'm in mommy mode. But what's so beautiful about the mommy mode is because it's still infusing my creative life, asking them about what they did during the day, especially my 4-year-old, what were the playground politics? Because let me tell you, the playground politics,
Uh-oh.
it is. It's really real. Every generation grows up a little early. And then, with the internet, they got access a little bit. And these kids, they're discussing what they understand about what they see. Playground, if you're fortunate, my husband and I were very, very close to our kids. Our kid is coming home. She's asking questions, about these conversations. So I'm so glad that we put in there. And I hope, and I'm committed to making sure that dynamic ever changed. When someone says something questionable or, that she can see us as a safe space, to host those conversations, which is also how I'm trying to work to create my shows, to be an answer and response to that. So Kaybe, let me tell you about my girl, Charlotte, my 3rd child. All right, Charlotte and Buckingham Park. Hear ye, hear ye. This is the story of bicultural Queen Charlotte of England, as told through a bicultural girl growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina, whose park just happens to run like a royal court. And Charlotte's besties on the playground, we got Marie Antoinette, because in real life, Queen Charlotte wrote letters to Queen Marie Antoinette. She tried to save her life. It didn't work out, but don't worry, we don't behead anybody in our show. It's just going the longest time out ever. Her other bestie on the court grounds, our little kid version of Mozart, we call him Mo. He's our composer on the grounds, and that's inspired because in real life, Queen Charlotte was a benefactor of Mozart. Like she put him on the world stage. So that is the world and wonder of Charlotte and Buckingham Park. And KB, I'm manifesting that it is coming to a bookstore and TV and YouTube channel to you soon. This series is the intersection of, my passions as a history lover, and how that historical turns into fantastical, but then insert, playground politics, and problem solving. Because through Queen Charlotte's character, kids learn how to be benevolent instead of being bullies. They learn how to be to use mediation instead of intimidation. And so I'm able to infuse what I'm observing my kids' life as a parent, what she's telling me as a kid, to create authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
This airs because I'm manifesting when it airs, that kids will see themselves in the challenges, that kids will also see themselves in solutions.
That is such a not just cute idea, but good idea. Like, yes, I'm checking it out when it airs.
Thank you. Thank you, Queen. Thank you, Queen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I got you. Don't you worry.
Thank you.
So, what support software or resources would you recommend for someone who's interested in following your footsteps?
It's so crazy. The best software tool advice I got, I went to a talk at the Writers Guild Association. There was a super tenured writer, and he shared that his secret sauce in writing development was actually to not write in final draft. He was like, for him, the platform was it put a seriousness and a weight on the creative process when you're just trying to blurt and spit your material out. And so he found a lot of value in writing in the notes, section that comes on your computer. Like if you have a Mac, like your iNotes. And he said, it took the lift off. It makes you feel like a writer, like back in the day, like writing in composition journals. It takes the heavy lift, but then you don't have to worry about like if you lose your journal, you lost your script or lost your story because there's that, digital iCloud backup. So it takes the weight off and response allows you just like to get that draft, like spit it out, and then you can go back and scrub and edit words he felt like. And I felt the same. When I write in final draft, I take it so seriously that I'm writing and editing at the same time. And it oftentimes prevented me from moving forward. There's also added value in that the technology talks. So, you can't own when creative awakenings come. And sometimes they happen while, my daughter will run up to, hug and kiss me at daycare pickup, and then she'll run to say goodbye to her friends. And then there's like an aha moment. And I can just quickly grab my phone and write it down. Then I get home to my computer and it's already synced to my laptop. And wherever I am, or if I'm at the playground, I'm at the grocery store, I'm in the middle of changing my son's diaper. You know what I mean? Like I can just boop, 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 like real quick, dial it in. And that's been super rewarding. Some of my advice, still have your final draft because you have to have it, professionally for submitting is critical. But if you're just like trying to get the ideas out, trying to get your beat sheet, your outline out, every one of my projects has a notes section in my phone or a notes page where it initially started and where I continue to tweak upon because it's available to me on my phone or my laptop. Then I would also say another software that I use Canva a lot. My husband actually introduced it to me. I think it's very user friendly. And if you don't have budget or capabilities as a graphic designer, it allows you to be that. So there's free account availability. There's a paid account availability where you can get like a higher grade of, design elements to infuse in your piece. But I think it's a great tool. And I think it's a tool of the future because what's also beautiful about Canva is you send, or I send my decks through a public facing link versus like downloading and attaching as a PDF. Even there was something I had sent out and I was racing to hit a deadline for a fellowship. And then I woke up this morning and I was grinding. How you're like, I got to meet this deadline by midnight. But then the next morning I woke up with fresh eyes and I caught like a couple of typos and stuff like, oh, snap. Well, I sent that PDF. Like, no, I just went in and just fixed that typo, hit refresh. And that person, has it, and so that continues on the journey. Or like, different buyers that have my pitch deck out. Like if something changes or something, they don't have to worry about reattaching something. I'm just like, hey, this deck has been updated with this note of advancement. So click here, check it out. And so, yeah, iNotes for idea development, beat sheet outline, or just throwing the pasta against the wall to see what sticks. But once you get ready to pitch mode development, I recommend Canva. And obviously once you're ready to go script, final draft.
And you have a range of different types of projects that you worked on and that you're working on. Animated series, live action series, books, shorts. What is your approach to these types of projects? Is there a difference?
Well, no, the audiences are the same. And no, like really the approach isn't very different. Like I really pride myself, and this is what I say is like my stank in my marketing life is I really pride myself in being a cultural anthropologist first before being a marketer, meaning that I put people before product. So I do my research on people. I get those statistics, but also, added value of being a multicultural marketer and being a Black woman is like, I am the case study. I know, will I do this? Will I won't do this? Will this resonate with me? Will it offend me? And so similar thing with kids content creation, everything in my portfolio was rooted in something real, and visceral that either I saw happening in my kid's life or something I remembered from my childhood growing up that I wish someone had said to me, or a moment that I wish had happened to me, or something that I fantasized. Or, it's so crazy. Each generation has a different set of circumstances, and there's advances and challenges in each one. But inherently, like the crux, the cornerstone of what entertains them, what pulls them in is remain the same. Like you'll go back. I forgot. I thought Cinderella came out when I was a kid. Okay. And it wasn't until I was revisiting Cinderella with my daughter that I realized that movie was made in 1954. And I craved it. I requested it. My daughter is craving it. And I don't think it will ever stop. And so it's putting your audience first, I guess, is the through line between both. Just put your audience first. Like you can come up and it's easy to fall into a trap like, oh, I think I have this great. And that's where it has to begin. That's where the process has to begin. But after like, oh, okay, I got this dope idea, please like immediately think to like the marketing part of your brain, the business part of your brain has to say, but will someone watch? Will someone else think it's interesting too? Is it interesting because it's just me or it happened to me? Or will someone else find value, in this narrative? And will someone want to go on this ride with me long term? Or core questions that creators that need to ask themselves.
How's this journey been for you so far?
You know what? It's been wild. It's had ups and downs, curves, valleys, and mountaintops. But when I think and reflect on the journey, I do think it's all been intention. I think it's all been God's intention. And I think even I was talking to my producers partners with about my Charlotte series. I'm like, why isn't it sold yet? And we were just like, well, I guess we had to learn this thing from that first pitch meeting. And then we had to meet this person. And then our daughters had to grow up. And then we had to because I conceived of Charlotte when I was pregnant with my child, like after many years of applying to get into the Warner Media Access Writers Program, which was formerly the HBO Writing Fellowship. I got it when I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter. So come on, what? Why, God? Why are you doing this when I'm pregnant? Like, it was already going to be hard enough. But I'm like, what? God's like, I have a plan because, you've been writing for kids for a long time, but now I'm going to task you with writing of the intentionality of what are you specifically saying to this baby growing in your belly? And from that spawn, what I'm going to be the best thing I've ever created, the best thing I've ever created. And it was hard, but it was the best thing I've ever done. Like, I remember writing initial drafts of this project, taking advantage of her, she would have a 4-hour stretch of sleep at 3 a.m. and nursing her, putting her down and just pounding out as many pages or revisions as I could during that time. So crazy. Wow. There's also this crazy creative awakening that happens when you're low-key unconscious.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, so again, it was just like the best thing ever happened to create while creating. Oh my God, I was creating while creating,
Oh.
And fast forward, I remember when we first went to market pitching the series, I was pregnant. I think I was 5 or 6 months pregnant with my son. I mean, literally, I first met because my producing partner, Jazz, she took a photo of me and I'm blowing up. I'm blown up pregnant at the table. And just, but that pitch development, that intention, I'm tired, but no, I gotta write it. I gotta fix these slides. Because I'm thinking about him. And then Dual Path was in my belly. I wrote, I broke the outline for my first feature that I also have development and will soon be out to market. And again, think it was one of the best things I've ever written because I was thinking about him. I was, he was in my belly. I'm watching her because I'm also thinking they're going to be my audience and there's no delete, but I want them to be proud at mama,
Yeah.
So that layer, they are my creative consultants, but they're also are my toughest creative critics or will be, down the line. And so it's for them. And so then it all just circles back, right? Just to being yourself, your selfness, as you said the word. Your selfness is very important.
Absolutely. Would you say, and I know you mentioned that you were writing kids media before you got pregnant with your daughter, but would you say that they are an inspiration and a drive to your work?
Oh, they are 100%. My kids are 100% the inspiration, 100% the reason for the season. They've taken my writing intentionality to new heights as a mom wanting to provide, as a mom wanting to entertain and inspire, and as a mom and watching them and using their lives as fuels. As I said, I take what they're navigating and infuse it into my work to create solutions. The challenges they face, I work to insert the solutions in my shows. So, and they're on board. My daughter's gotten involved in my Charlotte project. We actually recently produced a sizzle reel and she's featured in it. And so she's a vested stakeholder in the project. And that just happened by happenstance. I was like, oh, well, I'll bring her to the recording studio, have her record some generic oohs and ahs and cheers. And she was just cool as a cucumber. I'm like, well, let me give her some lines and we'll just see what happens. And the audio engineer was like, "Oh my God, like you gotta use your daughter. You gotta that take let that all shucks. You gotta use it." I'm like, "Oh, well, okay." And I asked my brother, "Y'all look," and they're like, "Oh no, she nailed it. Do it." So we did it. It's been great because as a family, we're together on that ride. And I literally run things by her. Like there's a correlating book to this series that's out to market as well. And just yesterday, I'm in the middle of a revision, and I had my daughter read the first couple of pages just to see what she'd think, and it rocked with her. And it, like, the best compliment, because I didn't tell her what it was. She doesn't know any concept behind it, but she said, "Mommy, I want to read more. Mommy's."
Oh,
And so I was like, "Mm, mm, I'm on to something. I'm on to something." So there we go.
amazing. How do you, like, I know you were mentioning playground politics and just like the dynamics that you would witness in the stories that you'd hear from your daughter. How do you implement today's kids' culture into your work?
How do I implement kids' culture into my work? The pace at which they view things, pacing is very important. Um, I remember even we were putting together the sizzle for Charlotte and Buckingham Park. I was like, I have to visually wow them. I don't even know if, our generation, we said 10 pages in seconds. I think you got five with these kids today, with the way they view things. So the visual spectacle infusion, and also the length, and this is something that I'm contemplating in my head. My series is more your traditional, like 22 minute series, that model where you would have a commercial break in between. The bluey of it all is shortening content, aims for many, or at least it's piquing curiosity. YouTube shorts are about that same length. But I also am just like, I think there's value and currency in having content that you really just pause and be still, and you pop a bag of popcorn and you watch with your family. And so I feel like my content is that. Mine isn't, "Hey, throw on that show that by that Malia girl while I check out the groceries real quick." That's like, no, we've gotten home, we've cooked dinner, now we're pops about, now we're going to enjoy it as a family. So just watching what stimulates them, from a visual perspective, from a time length perspective, and also really just, and I knew this before being a parent, but I overstand this now as a parent, the importance of representation. Representation is, it's vital, it's crucial, and that's why I leave with Charlotte, Charlotte and Buckingham Park. Hear ye, hear ye. This is the story of bicultural Queen Charlotte of England, as told through a bicultural girl growing up in Charlotte, North Carolina, whose playground just happens to run like a royal court. And I've had people like, "Oh, well, is it important to say bicultural?" But I was like, yes, because it's important to say who she was, and say who she is, and own the melanin, in her,
Mm-hmm.
because my daughter, she had a frozen fourth birthday, but up until 4, if she didn't see herself written, represented in some capacity, she wasn't into the series. Like, I couldn't get her on Frozen. She passed on Cinderella. She passed on Belle when she was a little, but she was really, really into Moana. She was really, 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 really into May May from Turning Red. Like, that was her jam. Like, we actually had a Turning Red or Turning 2 party to celebrate,
Cute.
her love of Turning Red. So she just needed to see some brownness. And obviously, the Princess Tiana, and she really just needed to see some capacity of brown. And so understanding the culture of the importance of representation is also something I've infused. And obviously, as a Black storyteller, I mean, everything I've written has somebody Black in it. I'm like Issa Rae. I'm room for everybody Black, writing for everybody Black, telling our stories, because there's a void in the space.
So, what was your upbringing like?
Let me tell you how fortunate I am, how blessed I am. Because I mean, honestly, I had the most amazing childhood. Like, I would not be good. I'm not, I'm manifesting when I make it. I'm not going to be your story for your Lifetime movie. I don't got your Dateline 2020 story, because you would just have to call it the Good News Channel, because I was very blessed, very fortunate to have the most amazing parents, the most amazing, extended family, most amazing village. Like, the village really raised the child, and my parents were very intentional in my upbringing, from what they were able to achieve, from that, my dad being growing up at that small farm in Enorine, North Carolina, across the railroad track, to my mom growing up and housing projects in Asheville, North Carolina, to them being able to rise up, and raise my younger sister. And I want to give a shout out to my sister, Dr. Demi Dawkins. She's one of 33 Black female neurosurgeons in the country. Super
Ooh.
proud of her. Super, super proud of her. And there's a kid story I'm brewing for her, because representation is important. From one day, my sister took my daughter with her to work at the hospital, and my daughter got to see her office, got to be introduced to her tools. And now my daughter's like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a surgeon. You know what I mean? So just she wouldn't have known about that without that access, and seeing someone looking like her doing that, super important. So, and I think that folds back into your initial question, was like, what was my upbringing? Like, watching what my parents did, formulated me to want to be able to achieve, the same thing. Obviously, working in different industries. My dad's a retired chemist. My mom's an former HBCU president. But there's a strong ambition, a strong determination in me that just goes unwavering. Like I do not accept no. Like, closed door. I'm like, well, who am I knocking on next? And so I had a really, really great upbringing by my parents. It was also very crafted and coordinated in terms of making sure I had diversity, and that's diversity. And, I grew up in the suburbs. When we were 5, we moved to a predominantly white neighborhood. But then my parents were like, okay, to balance that out, we're going to put you in the Afro-American Children's Theater of Charlotte, because we want to make sure you know yourself, other Black people. You're not that Black person who's like scared of other Black people because you ain't no other Black people, are lacking pride in yourself because you're not around other Black people. They also, both of my parents are proud graduates of Johnson C. Smith University, so I was always on campus. I like to say I have an honorary HBCU degree. I went to preschool there. My mom taught for 33 years there. My dad was the president of the alumni board. My mom and dad. My mom was actually the head of the sports department. So every basketball game, every football game, my mom's students were my babysitters. I lived on that campus. But also, in addition to Black, making sure for I had Jewish ones. The bat mitzvah and bar mitzvah invites were litty lit, growing up. And also then having, diversity in economics. My parents ensured that every summer, my sister and I, we spent time in Inner East, South Carolina, in that small house across from the railroad tracks. Actually, my dad and his brothers helped my grandfather build.
Wow.
Brick by brick. We spent time in the projects in Asheville. So when I remember every time we came home, we pulled into our driveway in the suburbs of Charlotte, just taking a breath of appreciation from we had after spending time on the farm, spending time in the projects, And so just really be intentional of the 360 degrees of who I am. So I think going back to your initial question, what is a storyteller? I think a storyteller is also a life liver. And my parents raised me to be full of so much life. I have observed so much life. Farm, projects, suburb, city. I grew up in the South. I went to undergrad in New York City, dialing into you now from Los Angeles. But I'm also a global citizen. I love to travel. I've been to Ghana, I've been to Chile, I've been to France, England. My sister and I are going to Germany in the fall, and so just all this life lived, this lover of life that I am, I also infuse into my stories.
Thank you so much, Malia, for speaking with us today. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any social media you'd like to share with us?
Yes, you can find me on IG at Malia Dawkins. I'm on Facebook as at Malia Dawkins Jennings. Yeah, I got to get my mommy life together. I'm still updating names for marriage, but y'all just follow me now and just be on the ride with me as mommy figures it out. Okay.
There you go.
I don't even know what to do if I don't have my diaper bag on my shoulder. I can also be found on LinkedIn as Malia Jennings. Yeah, but follow me. Feel free to DM me. Tell me so I like to pay it forward. So if you have questions, I'm an open book.
And thank you, the listener, for tuning in. If you're interested in supporting Creating Color, please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast, and tell your friends and family about us. If you're interested in following me, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Maybe It's Kaybe. Thanks to Namikaze for creating the ending theme. You can find more of his music on his SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Namikaze. That's NAMIKAZE. If you're interested in supporting Creating in Color financially, consider a one-time or monthly donation through our PayPal or Coffee account, coffee.com/creatingincolor. Links available via our link tree. Before we wrap up, do you have any departing words of wisdom for everyone listening?
I would just say this is a professional industry, right? It's we're all here. If you're listening to this line, you're probably listening because you want to make it a career. But the secret sauce is making it as personal as you can. And that's personal as in craft, but also personal as in relationship building. Like I've been able to do some really, really incredible things, collaborate with some really, really incredible people that I've never even met. Just, like for you, we've never met in person. And look at what you're going to let. Kaybe, I'm never letting you go. Okay. You stuck with me. You at the court, you at the cookout with me. And so to really foster those personal relationships, you have to be able to willing to give and share the personal view. You have to be able to give you, like you are part of the product. And I mean that in the most positive of ways. Not like you're selling yourself, but you're selling yourself. But you're selling, but the secret is selling yourself as who you actually really, really are.
Thanks so much. This has been Creating in Color. Keep striving, keep trying, keep creating. Bye.